The path to the White House runs along our country's southern border.
When I win on November 5th, the migrant invasion ends and the restoration of our country begins.
But most proposed solutions seem theoretical at best.
How's that going to happen? Massive raids? Massive detention camps?
We're talking to a local professor who spent time along the border for his personal perspective, and from voters on both sides about why it's so important to them.
We hear telling them that the vote matters for us, right? The people that we cannot vote.
I think there's a lot of American citizens that are suffering as well, and they're seemingly on the back burner of all that.
What makes the immigration debate one of the most contentious in the U.S.?
It's a domino effect. These people, they spend money, they spend the paycheck.
This is America. Don't mess with me.
This is CBS News Bay Area with Elizabeth Cook.
I'm Ann Makovic in for Liz, and it is one of the big hot button issues both presidential candidates have been vocal about: immigration. Both Donald Trump and Kamala Harris have laid out their plans for the southern border. A lot of voters have strong feelings about the issue. There are only 22 days left until the election. Both former President Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris are ramping up their campaigns. They're both in Pennsylvania right now. Vice President Harris is going to be speaking at this rally we're taking a live look at right now in Erie. President Biden won that county by about 1,400 votes in 2020. And taking a live look right now at former President Trump's town hall meeting going on in Philadelphia. You can see him there amongst the flags. Voters are going to have the opportunity to ask him questions personally about his campaign. Both presidential candidates know how important the issue of immigration is to voters. New CBS News poll shows voters split down party lines when it comes to the border, and their perspectives are very different. Harris voters say migrant crossings are going down. Trump supporters think crossings are up. There was an even bigger split when likely voters were asked about Biden's border policy. The poll, those voting for Trump believe President Biden tried to increase border crossings, many of them suspecting that efforts to get migrants to vote illegally in the U.S. elections were underway. Harris supporters believe the president tried to lower the number of people crossing the border. Actually, the number of illegal border crossings reached the lowest point during the Biden presidency last month. U.S. border agents say 54,000 migrants were apprehended. That is the lowest number recorded by the agency since August 2020 because of travel restrictions from the pandemic. Border agents say that is a 76% drop from a record high in December when crossings were at 250,000. Former President Trump unveiled a new plan to improve border security during a campaign stop in Arizona yesterday. He now wants to hire 10,000 new agents, boost their salaries by 10%, and offer a $10,000 retention and signing bonus. Earlier this year, Trump opposed bipartisan legislation to provide additional money to border security, including funding for new agents. Trump welcomed Border Patrol agents to the stage at his rally in Arizona, where he received an endorsement from the Border Patrol Council. The president of the union had this to say.
He has always stood with the men and women who protect this border, who put their lives on the line for the country. A man who knows about putting his life on the line for what is right.
Mr. Trump has also promised to use the military to expel 11 million undocumented immigrants. And immigration was also a hot-button issue during the presidential debate in September, of course. You might remember this comment from Trump.
They're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there.
Well, both Trump and his running mate, J.D. Vance, have refused to stand down on those false claims about Haitian immigrants living in Springfield, Ohio. Those claims have led to threats against the Haitian community and the city. Meanwhile, Vice President Harris wants greater funding for border security and a legal pathway to citizenship for some undocumented immigrants. She visited the southern border for the first time as presidential candidate last month. It's also her second time at the U.S.-Mexico border since taking office, something that she has been criticized for. Well, she is vowing to keep in place a recent Biden administration crackdown on asylum requests and has promoted herself as tough on cross-border crime. On 60 Minutes last week, she was pressed on the issue of immigration.
It's a long-standing problem, and solutions are at hand. And from day one, literally, we have been offering solutions.
But the numbers did quadruple.
And the numbers
under your
today,
watch.
because of what we have done, we have cut the flow of illegal immigration by half.
Illegal crossings have been down in recent months across the entire border. That comes 3 months into the Biden administration's push to restrict asylum requests. The voters are undecided when it comes to where both candidates stand on immigration, some favoring a tough approach to cracking down on illegal crossings. Others question how a mass deportation would actually work.
It's a domino effect. These people, they spend money, they spend the paycheck.
How are you going to round up 20 million people? They've been here and they're productive. There should be some consideration.
Meanwhile, the Biden administration will not extend legal status for hundreds of thousands of migrants who arrived in recent years. That was all part of a sponsorship program designed to reduce illegal border crossings from 2022 rather. Over 500,000 migrants from Venezuela, Cuba, Haiti, and Nicaragua flew into the U.S. under that program, gave them permission to live and work here for 2 years. With the program expiring, migrants will be directed to apply for other immigration programs or to leave the country. Still ahead, we're continuing our conversation about immigration, talking to an expert on his experience with visiting the border. Plus, the push to get the Latino vote out at a time when many feel their vote doesn't matter. We are taking a look today at how the issue of immigration is fueling deep concerns over mass deportations and renewed action in the South Bay. Our Jose Martinez has more on the push in the Bay Area's Latino community to make their voices heard.
Maria Corrales, a recently naturalized U.S. citizen after living in the country for almost 30 years, is ready to cast her vote in November. For her, the stakes couldn't be higher.
Para mí va a ser muy importante el votar por la persona adecuada que realmente quiera ayudar a la comunidad. En este momento yo creo que los políticos se están enfocando en mirar sus diferencias, pero en realidad es una necesidad que se enfoquen cómo van a ayudar a los ciudadanos.
Corrales isn't alone. The conversation around voting is alive at Amigos de Guadalupe. Ms. Raín Mendoza, the director of operations at Amigos de Guadalupe, emphasizes just how crucial voting is for this community.
The most important thing that we need to do is vote, okay? We have a very, very low percentage of people that are able to vote here in the South San Jose, but they don't vote. And I feel that the issue is because they don't feel that the vote matters, right? But we here telling them that the vote matters for us. Right, the people that we cannot vote.
According to a 2018 Pew Research Center study, about 55% of Latino adults say they worry that they, a family member, or a close friend could be deported. In the 2020 election, a record 16.6 million Latinos cast their votes, making up 13% of the total electorate. With upcoming elections, the Latino vote is expected to play a pivotal role in shaping the outcome, as more citizens feel the need to protect their communities, just like Maria Corrales is planning to do this year.
Cuando yo estaba aquí migrante, tenía mis hijas pequeñas, siempre tenía un temor muy grande de que eso me pasara a mí. Miraba familias destrozadas, separadas y niños completamente que los quitaba el sistema.
For Maria and many others, it's not just about politics. It's about family, community, and the fight to preserve their way of life.
According to a recent poll from Scripps News and Ipsos, 54% of Americans say they strongly or somewhat support a broad effort to deport millions of immigrants. Well, joining me now is USF professor and author of the book Humanizing Immigration, Bill Hing. Thanks so much for being with us today. I know you're very well versed on this topic, but let's talk a little bit about your book. What do you mean by humanizing immigration?
Well, I think that one of the tragedies of the entire border situation is that whoever the president has been, I'm including President Biden, not just President Trump, we fail to understand who these individuals are who are at the border. We fail to put a human face and to understand who they are, why they are there. Instead, we commodify them. We think of the groups as a group of people that are trying to invade the country. And I'm advocating that we try to approach the situation with understanding rather than just a reaction to what a picture looks like.
Yeah, I know a lot of people, though, they don't frankly care who these people are. They just know that they're not born Americans and are concerned about some of the spending that the U.S. government does to help them. What do you say about people who bring up those concerns when they say that Americans who are already here are struggling?
Americans are struggling, but people who are concerned about this issue should understand and look at the tax dollars. The truth is that immigrants, including those without immigration documents, contribute more into the tax system than they take out. So we come out way ahead when it comes to the economic issues in this case. And so I don't think that we should be so quick to react negatively unless we understood how much we benefit economically from the contributions of immigrants.
That is a really interesting statistic. I know you personally have spent time at the border. What is it being there that maybe some of us who have not don't really understand about how things are working?
Well, first of all, the wait list is a long time. You have to use an app on your phone to get an appointment. That's one thing, that it's logistically very difficult. And the second thing is that I defy anyone who feels negatively about this to go with me. Go with me to the border and help me interview these individuals. And you'll find out that these are decent people, that they have fled violence, all different kinds of violence, domestic violence, gang violence, cartel violence. And I think that you would look at this a little bit more compassionately.
A lot of talk about the wall. We've been hearing that on and off over the last several presidential campaigns. Do you think that something like that is even a viable solution, and would that help or hurt?
We actually have miles, almost 3,000 miles of 2,000 miles of fence along the border already, and it doesn't help in the sense that it doesn't discourage people. What it does is it makes it dangerous. That's one thing. The other thing is that the vast majority of folks who come to the border are trying to enter in an orderly fashion. They're lining up. They want to be processed. They don't want to travel across the river or over the mountains. They actually want to do it lawfully and check in with the Border Patrol.
Really interesting perspective there, Professor Bill Ong Hing. We really appreciate your time. We're going to be right back.